I was never a superstitious person, but an eerie incident during a summer stay at my grandparents' house shattered my skepticism and plunged me into the depths of the supernatural. The oppressive summer air clung to every surface as I and my sister settled into our temporary haven, our grandmother's quaint home. As the days passed, the approaching ghost festival cast a shadow over our nights. It was a festival I had heard about but never experienced firsthand, and little did I know that it would weave a tapestry of horror around me. Each night leading up to the ghost festival, I found myself trapped in a cycle of nightmares. Vivid, nightmarish scenarios unfolded, leaving me in a cold sweat upon waking. But the true horror began when the festival night arrived. The air grew heavy with an otherworldly tension as bedtime approached. In the dead of night, the sound of a distant bell, slow and mournful, would pierce the silence. Its rhythmic shaking seemed to traverse the vast distance, drawing closer until it resonated in the hallway outside our room. I would lie paralyzed, heart pounding, as the unnerving sound reached its crescendo just beyond our door. Fearful, I would shut my eyes, only to be met with a disconcerting sight upon reopening them, a soft, ethereal blue glow emanating from the shadows. Panicking, I would shake my sister awake, but she remained undisturbed by the spectral occurrences. The inexplicable blue light persisted, and each time I would awaken my grandmother, the room returned to its normal state, devoid of any supernatural presence. As the years passed, the haunting routine persisted, leaving me in a perpetual state of dread every ghost festival. It wasn't just the nightmares or the mysterious bell, it was the unexplainable connection between my dreams and the spectral events that unfolded in the waking world. One year, however, everything took a sinister turn. On the night of the ghost festival, I braced myself for the inevitable nightmares and the haunting sound of the bell. But this time, there was an added layer of horror. Whispers, unintelligible and ghostly, accompanied the bell's mournful toll. Unable to endure the torment any longer, I decided to confront the source of my nightmares head-on. Armed with courage and curiosity, I ventured into the dimly lit hallway where the sound reverberated. As I approached the dusty old mirror that adorned the hallway wall, the whispers grew louder. I stared into the reflective surface, expecting to see only my own terrified expression. Instead, the mirror revealed a shadowy figure, a specter shrouded in darkness. The figure beckoned me with a skeletal hand, and against my better judgment, I reached out. The moment our hands touched, the world around me shifted. I found myself in a nightmarish realm, a twisted reflection of the familiar surroundings I had known. Here, the bell tolled relentlessly, and the blue glow surrounded me like an ominous aura. I was trapped in a nightmarish version of my grandmother's house, and the whispers became clearer, voices of the forgotten, lost souls seeking release from the spectral limbo. In a chilling revelation, I understood that the nightmares were a conduit, a bridge between the waking world and this haunted dimension. Each year, the Ghost Festival served as a gateway for these tortured souls to reach out, using my dreams as a vessel. Terrified and desperate to escape, I searched for a way back through the mirror. The spectral figure guided me, revealing that only by confronting the past could I sever the connection between the two worlds. As I delved deeper into the nightmarish memories locked within the haunted dimension, I unraveled a dark secret, a long-forgotten tragedy that bound these souls to the limbo. The mirror, an artifact of the past, held the key to their liberation. With newfound determination, I confronted the lingering echoes of the past, facing the horrors that had condemned these souls to an eternity of torment. As the truth emerged, the bells tolling transformed into a mournful symphony, a requiem for the lost. With the revelation, the spectral realm began to crumble, and I found myself back in the familiar hallway. The mirror shattered, releasing the tortured souls and banishing the haunting blue glow. The whispers faded into the echoes of a distant memory. The next Ghost Festival brought no nightmares, no spectral disturbances. The cycle was broken, and the shadows in the mirror were finally at peace. The oppressive weight that had lingered for years lifted, leaving behind a sense of closure and the eerie memory of a haunting journey through the realms of the supernatural. In the wake of that harrowing night, a newfound calm settled over my grandmother's house. The oppressive grip of the Ghost Festival's spectral influence had been shattered, and the nightmares that had plagued me for years were replaced by an eerie silence. As the seasons changed, so did the atmosphere within the old house. The whispers in the night were replaced by a quietude that echoed through the halls. It seemed as though the spirits, once bound by a tragic past, had found solace in the revelation and liberation from their spectral limbo. But as time passed, an unsettling realization dawned upon me. The mirror, once a gateway to the haunted dimension, now stood as a shattered relic of the past. I couldn't shake the feeling that the fragments held a residual connection to the spirits I had encountered. One night, unable to resist the haunting curiosity, I gathered the pieces of the broken mirror. As I reconstructed it, the room seemed to pulse with a subtle energy. The air thickened, and the whispers returned, albeit softer, like distant echoes of a fading memory. The mirror, now whole again, shimmered with an ethereal glow. It retained a spectral quality, a testament to the lingering connection between our world and the one I had traversed. I hesitated, torn between the curiosity to explore the supernatural and the fear of unleashing forces beyond my control. The decision was made for me as the mirror seemed to draw me in. The room faded away, and I found myself once again in the spectral realm, surrounded by the echoes of the past. This time, the atmosphere was different. The spirits, once tormented, now exuded a sense of gratitude. They whispered words of thanks, their voices intertwining with the gentle tolling of a distant bell. As I moved through the haunted dimension, I encountered the shadowy figure once more. It nodded in acknowledgement, a silent gratitude for the role I had played in revealing the truth. Together, we revisited the scenes of the past, witnessing the moments that had trapped these souls in a perpetual cycle of despair. With each revelation, the spectral energy within the mirror grew stronger. It became apparent that the mirror served as a bridge not only between the two realms, but also as a conduit for healing the wounds of the past. As the spirits found closure, the mirror absorbed their residual pain, transforming it into a serene radiance. The haunting blue glow evolved into a gentle, golden light, and the bell's tolling turned into a melody of release. In the final moments of this spectral journey, the shadowy figure gestured towards the mirror. With a solemn understanding, I touched the reflective surface. The transition back to the waking world was seamless, and I found myself standing in the dimly lit hallway once again. The mirror, now devoid of the haunting energy, reflected only the ordinary surroundings. The spectral echoes had dissipated, leaving behind a newfound peace within the house. The oppressive weight that had lingered for years had been replaced by a sense of tranquility. In the aftermath of this supernatural odyssey, the mirror retained a hint of its ethereal nature, a reminder of the connection between our world and the spirit's realm. It became a symbol of healing and closure, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and its capacity to bring solace even to those trapped in the shadows of the past. The Ghost Festival came and went without a trace of the haunting disturbances. The once spectral mirror, now a vessel of healing, stood as a silent guardian, a beacon of light amidst the shadows. And as the years passed, the old house became a sanctuary, free from the lingering whispers of the past, as if the spirits themselves had found peace in the embrace of their long-forgotten truths. As the tranquility settled over my grandmother's house, a curious energy lingered in the air, attracting others to the mysteries hidden within its walls. The story of the haunted mirror had become a local legend, drawing individuals eager to explore the supernatural. Among them was Emily, a paranormal investigator intrigued by the tales whispered through the town. She arrived with an arsenal of equipment, determined to unravel the secrets that permeated the old house. Her presence brought a renewed sense of anticipation, and the mirror, still resonating with a residual energy, seemed to respond to her inquisitive gaze. Together with Emily, I ventured into the spectral realm once more, guided by the shadowy figure that had become a spectral companion on this journey. As we explored the echoes of the past, more spirits emerged, each with their own tale of woe. The mirror absorbed their stories, transforming into a mosaic of illuminated memories. The enigmatic aura of the mirror attracted others from the town, each with their unique connection to the supernatural. Among them was Mr. Chen, the town's wise elder, who had long sensed the presence of the otherworldly within the old house. His wrinkled hands traced the contours of the mirror, as if reading the secrets etched into its surface. Another addition to our group was Sarah, a local historian fascinated by the town's folklore. She brought with her ancient manuscripts and dusty tomes, delving into the archives to uncover the roots of the spectral disturbances that had plagued the house for generations. As our collective exploration continued, the mirror evolved into a nexus of interconnected tales, intertwining the lives of those who had inhabited the house and those who sought to unravel its mysteries. The spirits, now free from their torment, conveyed their gratitude through whispers that echoed in the very fabric of the old walls. The spectral realm became a place of communion, where the living and the departed converged in a shared quest for understanding. Each member of our eclectic group contributed a unique perspective, unlocking layers of the supernatural tapestry that veiled the truth. In a startling revelation, we discovered that the mirror had been crafted by a long-forgotten artisan seeking to bridge the gap between the living and the dead. Its purpose had been twisted over the years, becoming a source of torment rather than a conduit for understanding. With this newfound knowledge, the group embarked on a collective effort to restore the mirror's original purpose. The mirror, once a harbinger of nightmares, now served as a gateway for the living and the departed to communicate, share, and find closure. The mirror's surface shimmered with a renewed brilliance, reflecting not only the faces of those gathered, but also the ethereal glow of liberated spirits. The once haunting blue light transformed into a warm, golden radiance, casting a soothing embrace upon the room. As the group disbanded, leaving the old house bathed in the residual serenity of collective healing, I realized that the supernatural journey had not only freed the trapped spirits, but had also united a disparate group in a shared understanding of the spectral mysteries that bound them. The Ghost Festival arrived once again, but this time, the town and the old house remained untouched by the ominous disturbances of the past. The mirror, now a symbol of reconciliation, stood as a testament to the power of collective resilience and the ability to unearth secrets that spanned both the living and the spectral realms. The legends surrounding the haunted mirror transformed into stories of redemption and unity, echoing through the town as a reminder that even in the face of the supernatural, humanity's capacity for understanding and healing could transcend the shadows of the past. The newfound peace within the old house was short-lived as an unexpected consequence of our collective exploration emerged. The liberated spirits, once grateful for the release from their torment, began to retaliate, their spectral presence manifesting with an intensity that surpassed anything we had experienced before. The mirror, once a beacon of healing, now seemed to amplify the unrest that lingered within the spirits. The warm, golden glow transformed into an ominous crimson, casting a foreboding shadow upon the once tranquil halls. It became evident that our actions had disrupted the delicate balance between the living and the departed. Emily's paranormal investigations captured increasingly hostile encounters with vengeful spirits. The town, once curious and fascinated, now shrouded itself in fear as the supernatural disturbances escalated. Mr. Chen, Sarah, and I, along with the other members of our group, found ourselves at the center of a spectral storm, facing a retaliation we had not anticipated. The bell's mournful toll echoed louder, the whispers turned into chilling wails, and the once subtle manifestations now erupted with malevolent force. The mirror, the epicenter of this supernatural storm, pulsed with an unsettling energy that seemed to feed off our collective fear. In a desperate attempt to quell the rising unrest, we revisited the spectral realm through the mirror, seeking answers from the shadowy figure that had guided us before. However, the figure remained elusive, and the spirits, once cooperative, now resisted any attempts at communication. The town's atmosphere became suffocating, its once friendly streets now haunted by the lingering presence of vengeful apparitions. Emily's equipment captured images that sent shivers down our spines, faces contorted with rage, shadows that seemed to reach out from the mirror into our world. As the Ghost Festival approached, the supernatural onslaught reached its zenith. Sleep became elusive as nightmares invaded our every moment. The crimson glow of the mirror intensified, casting a baleful light that seemed to seep into the very fabric of our beings. In a heart-wrenching decision, I chose to flee the house, seeking refuge from the relentless spirits that now sought revenge for their disrupted peace. The once familiar walls of my grandmother's home became a suffocating maze, each step echoing with the malevolent whispers of the supernatural forces we had unwittingly unleashed. The town, now in the grip of a spectral uprising, watched as I fled in fear. The shadows that once lurked only within the old house spilled onto the streets, engulfing the entire town in an otherworldly darkness. The once calm ambience transformed into a cacophony of wails and bell tolls, an eerie symphony of the vengeful spirit's fury. As I left the town behind, the oppressive weight lifted, but the haunting memories lingered. The mirror, now a conduit for the wrath of the supernatural, faded into the distance, its crimson glow a fading beacon in the rearview mirror. The old house, once a sanctuary, now stood as a testament to the unpredictability of delving into the supernatural. The town, once vibrant and welcoming, now bore the scars of a spectral uprising, a consequence of our collective pursuit of understanding. And so, I drove away, haunted by the echoes of the Ghost Festival and the chilling specters that had forever changed the course of my life. The road stretched before me, and with each passing mile, the oppressive presence of the supernatural began to wane. Yet, the memories of the mirror's malevolence and the vengeful spirits would forever cast a shadow over my journey, a reminder that some secrets were better left undisturbed, and that the line between the living and the departed should never be crossed without consequences. One night, as darkness enveloped my dormitory, I drifted into an uneasy slumber. The room echoed with the silence of the sleeping, and shadows danced on the walls, casting an eerie atmosphere that would soon become the stage for a chilling nightmare. In my dream, a spectral hand brushed against my shoulder, sending shivers down my spine. Instantly, my eyes snapped open, only to be met with a nightmarish reality. I lay there, unable to move, and at the edge of my bed crouched the very apparition that had haunted my dreams. Fear consumed me as I stared at the ghostly figure beside me. Its presence was palpable, and the air grew thick with an otherworldly chill. Desperation and terror welled up within me, urging me to escape, but my body remained frozen, as if shackled by invisible chains. Frantic, I shut my eyes in a futile attempt to escape the nightmare, and when I dared to open them again, the ghostly specter had vanished. Yet, the oppressive weight on my chest persisted, trapping me in a surreal limbo between dreams and wakefulness. The room, now bathed in an unsettling stillness, seemed to pulse with an ominous energy. I was paralyzed, my mind alarmingly clear amidst the nightmarish tableau. Minutes stretched into eternity as I grappled with the uncanny sensation of being a helpless observer in my own nightmare. At last, after an agonizing interlude, I managed to break free from the invisible grasp that held me captive. I awoke for real, the room now devoid of the supernatural presence that had tormented me. But the echoes of the encounter lingered, leaving me on edge, wary of the boundary between the dream realm and the tangible world. Unable to shake off the unsettling experience, I sought solace in the daylight, desperate to forget the spectral touch that had invaded my dreams. When I confided in my classmates about the nightmarish episode, their responses were far from comforting. "Oh, that's just sleep paralysis," one nonchalantly remarked. "It's quite common." The revelation sent a shiver down my spine. Sleep paralysis, a rational explanation for the irrational horrors that had unfolded. Yet, the dread remained, an indelible mark etched into the fabric of my consciousness. In the days that followed, I grappled with the trauma of that night, my sleep haunted by the fear of encountering the ghostly intruder once more. But as the darkness of night persisted, so did the relentless pull of the unknown. One fateful night, The dormitory was shrouded in an even deeper darkness. A chill permeated the air, foretelling a presence more malevolent than any I had encountered before. The room seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy as a haunting moan echoed through the stillness. Slowly, dread seeped into my consciousness as the shadows on the walls took on a grotesque semblance of life. A low, guttural growl echoed through the room, drowning out the rhythmic hum of the sleeping dormitory. Before my eyes, the lifeless forms of my fellow students began to stir, their movements disjointed and unnatural. Panic seized me as I witnessed the transformation, once dormant bodies rising with an insatiable hunger, eyes vacant yet teeming with an unearthly glow. I was trapped, a horrified witness to the macabre symphony of the undead. They shuffled toward me, their limbs moving in a grotesque dance that defied the laws of nature. The air grew heavy with the stench of decay, and the room became a haunting tableau of reanimated horror. A surge of adrenaline jolted me into action. The once familiar dormitory had become a labyrinth of death, and every step threatened to awaken the ravenous horde. My breath quickened, each heartbeat a thunderous echo in the deafening silence of the night. As I navigated the twisting corridors of the undead, the grim reality unfolded, an outbreak of the supernatural, a cataclysmic event that blurred the lines between life and death. I desperately sought refuge, my every instinct urging me to survive the relentless onslaught of the reanimated. Until, in a horrifying twist, I stumbled upon a revelation that shattered the perceived reality. The undead were not mindless monsters, but tormented souls trapped between realms. Their existence was a consequence of a malevolent force that sought to exploit the fragile boundary between dreams and the tangible world. The dormitory, once a haven of tranquility, had become a battleground between the living and the spectral. The ghostly touch, the sleep paralysis, and the zombie-like apparitions were all threads woven into a sinister tapestry, orchestrated by an ancient force that reveled in the suffering of the living. In a desperate bid for survival, I confronted the malevolent entity, the source of the spectral nightmares that had plagued my nights. As the confrontation unfolded, the very fabric of reality seemed to warp, and the room dissolved into a surreal dreamscape. The malevolent force, once a harbinger of dread, now pleaded for. In the wake of the spectral uprising, a newfound understanding compelled me to delve into the origin of the tormented spirits that had once inhabited the dormitory. As the daylight cast its reassuring glow over the familiar surroundings, my curiosity led me to the nearby graveyard, the hidden nexus of the supernatural forces that had haunted my dreams. With a sense of trepidation, I enlisted the help of a few brave friends. Together, we approached the graveyard, its entrance shrouded in an otherworldly mist that hinted at the ethereal secrets within. The gravestones stood as silent sentinels, their weathered surfaces bearing witness to the passage of time and the unrest that lingered in the air. As we delved deeper into the burial ground, the atmosphere grew tense. The stillness was shattered by an unearthly moan, and shadows began to stir among the tombstones. It became apparent that the graveyard was not merely a resting place for the deceased, but a nexus for the tormented spirits that had transcended the veil between worlds. Suddenly, the ground beneath us shifted, and skeletal hands erupted from the soil. The dead, rising from their eternal slumber, surrounded us with hollow eyes and a hunger for the living. Panic set in as we realized we were encircled by the very entities we sought to understand, the reanimated remnants of a once peaceful resting place. A desperate struggle ensued, a chaotic dance of survival against the relentless onslaught of the undead. Each step became a battle for freedom, and the once familiar graveyard morphed into a nightmarish battleground where the living fought against the spectral inhabitants of the beyond. As we sprinted through the labyrinthine paths, the air thick with the stench of decay, the haunting moans of the undead echoed in our ears. A relentless pursuit ensued, the boundary between predator and prey blurred by the malevolent forces that sought to drag us into the realm of the dead. With each desperate breath, we navigated through the maze of gravestones, our only objective survival against the relentless onslaught. Shadows danced on the periphery, and skeletal hands reached out from the tombstones, threatening to pull us into the cold embrace of the grave. In the midst of the chaos, a revelation struck. The very force we had unleashed sought to reclaim the souls that had evaded its grasp. The graveyard, once a sanctuary for the departed, had become a battleground for the living against the malevolent entity that sought to assimilate the tormented spirits back into its grasp. Driven by sheer determination, we managed to find an ancient crypt, its doors creaking open to reveal a refuge from the pursuing undead. With a collective effort, we sealed ourselves within, the relentless pounding of skeletal fists against the entrance echoing in the claustrophobic darkness. Inside the crypt, the air was heavy with the weight of the supernatural. Shadows danced on the walls, and the distant moans of the undead created an eerie symphony that reverberated through the ancient chamber. It became clear that the malevolent force that had tormented the dormitory was deeply entwined with the graveyard itself. As we caught our breath within the temporary sanctuary, a whispered revelation unfolded. The malevolent entity was a creation of dark rituals performed centuries ago. Its purpose was to control the souls of the departed, transforming them into an army of the undead. The graveyard, once a sacred resting place, had become a battleground for the living and the supernatural. With newfound knowledge, we steeled ourselves for a daring escape. The undead, still clawing at the crypt's entrance, seemed relentless in their pursuit. As we cautiously ventured back into the moonlit graveyard, the shadows clung to the tombstones, and the moans of the undead lingered like a haunting melody. In a desperate sprint, we maneuvered through the labyrinth of gravestones, avoiding the skeletal hands that reached out from the earth. The boundary between the living and the dead blurred, and it seemed that escape was an elusive prize, forever just out of reach. Just as the undead closed in, a blinding light enveloped the graveyard. A surge of energy emanated from the ancient crypt, creating a protective barrier that held the pursuing entities at bay. In that moment, the graveyard seemed to quiver, as if the very earth itself rejected the malevolent force that sought to control it. With a final burst of speed, we escaped the graveyard, the ancient crypt fading into the background. The moon cast its silvery glow over the now silent tombstones, and the malevolent moans of the undead gradually faded into the distance. As we regrouped at a safe distance, the graveyard stood as a testament to the supernatural forces that lurk beyond the veil of the living. The revelation of the malevolent entity's origins left us with a chilling awareness that the line between life and death could be man. In the aftermath of the graveyard ordeal, our quest for understanding led us to an unsettling discovery. The origin of the spectral uprising lay hidden beneath the very ground we walked on. The dormitory's basement, long dismissed as a mere storage space, concealed a dark secret that connected the malevolent entity, the graveyard, and the spectral nightmares that had plagued our dormitory. Armed with the newfound knowledge, we delved into the labyrinthine depths of the dormitory's underground. The air grew thick with anticipation as we navigated through forgotten passages and dust-laden corridors, eventually stumbling upon a hidden chamber bathed in an otherworldly glow. In the center of the chamber stood an ancient, ornate mirror, a relic of a bygone era. Its surface seemed to ripple with a supernatural energy, and as we approached, a collective shiver ran down our spines. The mirror, a conduit for the malevolent force, served as a portal that bridged the living and the supernatural. As we steadied the mirror, the room pulsated with an ethereal hum. It became clear that this chamber was the epicenter of the spectral disturbances that had plagued our dormitory. The malevolent entity, once confined to the graveyard, had found a gateway into our world through the ancient mirror hidden in the depths of the basement. In the ensuing days, our investigation unveiled a chilling history. The mirror had once belonged to a mysterious cult that conducted dark rituals to manipulate the boundary between the living and the dead. The white-clad specter that haunted the dormitory had been a sacrificial soul, forever trapped between realms and serving as a conduit for the malevolent force. Night after night, we observed the basement, and as the clock struck the witching hour, the mirror's surface would shimmer with an otherworldly glow. From its depths emerged the spectral figure of a woman, the same white-clad entity that had haunted our dreams and the graveyard. Her presence was hauntingly serene, and her long, flowing hair cascaded like a waterfall of shadows. She moved with an ethereal grace, her eyes reflecting the torment of a soul trapped in a perpetual dance between life and death. As she emerged, the malevolent force emanated from the mirror, weaving a spectral tapestry that connected our world with the supernatural. In an attempt to sever the link between the living and the spectral, we devised a plan to confront the ghostly figure and dismantle the dark ritual that bound her to the mirror. Armed with ancient incantations and protective talismans, we entered the basement, ready to face the spectral entity and break the malevolent force's grip on our dormitory. As the clock struck midnight, the basement plunged into an otherworldly silence. The mirror's surface rippled, and the white-clad specter materialized before us. Her eyes, pools of sorrow, met ours, and the room seemed to quiver with an otherworldly energy. With a collective effort, we recited the incantations and brandished the protective talismans. The air crackled with supernatural tension as the spectral entity recoiled, the malevolent force's grip weakening with each uttered word. In a climactic moment, the mirror's glow diminished, and the spectral figure began to fade. The ancient incantations resonated with the echoes of the past, unraveling the dark rituals that bound the tormented soul to the mirror. As the last words left our lips, the basement plunged into a profound silence, and the mirror's surface settled into an ordinary reflection. The white-clad specter had vanished, and the malevolent force that had plagued our dormitory retreated into the shadows. The basement, once a harbinger of supernatural dread, stood silent, its secrets laid bare by the echoes of the past. In the days that followed, the dormitory regained a sense of calm. The spectral disturbances ceased, and the nightmares that had haunted our sleep dissipated like morning mist. The ancient mirror, now devoid of its malevolent influence, stood as a testament to the triumph of human resilience over the supernatural forces that sought to manipulate the boundaries between realms. As the sun set on the haunting chapter of our dormitory's history, we reflected on the journey that had blurred the lines between the living and the spectral. The basement, once a hidden chamber of torment, had become a symbol of redemption, a place where the ghosts of the past were finally laid to rest. And so, with the spectral disturbances vanquished and the ancient mirror sealed away, our dormitory stood as a testament to the resilience of the living against the supernatural. The boundary between realms, once a source of terror, became a testament to the enduring spirit that could overcome the shadows of the past and emerge into the light of a new day. In the wake of our triumph over the malevolent forces that had plagued our dormitory, a newfound sense of responsibility compelled us to seek closure for the tormented spirits that lingered in the wake of our supernatural journey. With a shared determination, we decided to bring in a paranormal expert, a sage well-versed in the ancient arts of spiritual guidance, to assist us in the delicate process of crossing the spectral threshold. The wise sage arrived, his presence radiating an aura of knowledge that extended beyond the realms of the living. Together, we gathered in the basement, the once dreaded chamber now transformed into a sanctuary of resolution. Armed with ancient rituals and the collective will to bring peace to the tormented souls, we embarked on a journey to guide them towards their eternal rest. The basement echoed with chants and incantations, a harmonious blend of the living and the spectral. The mirror, once a gateway to malevolence, now reflected the flickering candlelight as a symbol of the communal effort to bring tranquility to the departed. As the sage uttered words that transcended the mundane, a profound stillness settled over the basement. The tormented spirits, drawn towards the ethereal ceremony, manifested before us. Their faces bore expressions of both longing and anguish, the remnants of a spectral existence that had endured for far too long. With each incantation, the sage guided the spirits towards a shimmering portal that materialized in the center of the basement. It became evident that this portal was the gateway to the afterlife, a bridge between the earthly realm and the eternal peace that awaited the departed. The tormented souls hesitated, their eyes reflecting a mix of fear and hope. The sage, with a reassuring presence, encouraged them to step into the light. Slowly, one by one, the spectral figures crossed the threshold, disappearing into the radiant glow that beckoned from beyond. As the last spirit passed through, a serene stillness enveloped the basement. The air, once charged with supernatural tension, now felt pure and tranquil. The ancient mirror, stripped of its malevolent influence, reflected a room bathed in the soft glow of candlelight, a stark contrast to the haunting atmosphere it had once harbored. With a collective breath, we emerged from the basement, the weight of the supernatural ordeal lifted from our shoulders. The dormitory, once a battleground between the living and the spectral, now stood as a testament to the transformative power of compassion and understanding. In the days that followed, the dormitory experienced a profound sense of renewal. The once haunted rooms now echoed with the laughter of residents, and the spectral disturbances became nothing more than whispers of a distant memory. The sage, satisfied with the resolution achieved, bid farewell, leaving behind a dormitory that had emerged from the shadows into a new era of tranquility. As we closed the door to the basement, sealing away the echoes of the supernatural, a sense of closure washed over us. The line between the living and the spectral had been redrawn, and the dormitory stood as a symbol of redemption, a place where the ghosts of the past had found solace, and the living had learned to coexist with the echoes that lingered within its walls. And so, as the days turned into nights and the nights into days, the dormitory resumed its role as a haven for the living. The once burdened basement became a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the ability to confront the supernatural with compassion and understanding. With the ordeal behind us, we moved forward into a future where the spectral disturbances were nothing more than a chapter in the annals of our dormitory's history. The boundaries between realms, once fraught with fear, became a reminder that even in the face of the unknown, humanity possessed the power to bring resolution and peace to the echoes of the supernatural.